Hello and welcome to the Roundtable. In the studio, we are joined by two experts who will share their perspectives on today's topics. We have Dr. Kim Hana, Professor of International Studies at Arirang University. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me again.
We also have Dr. Lee Kyung-seok, Professor of Political Science at Incheon National University. Professor Lee, welcome to the Roundtable.
Thanks for having me.
On the screen, we see a crowd of women dressed in hanbok, the traditional Korean attire. They are participants of North Korea's National Conference of Mothers, which was held for the first time in 11 years. The event brought together 10,000 mothers who were selected for making contribution to the nation. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un attended the event and delivered a speech. He was even spotted crying and wiping tears while urging women to have more children. I think this was a highly choreographed play, right, Professor Kim?
Yeah, I completely agree. There's definitely some intention behind his tears, and he not only wanted to praise the mothers, but also wanted them to show more loyalty to North Korea by having more children.
Right. Personally, the outside observers have been guessing that this is intended to be an idolization of a particular person in North Korea. Can you guess who might it be?
Definitely, I guess it is Kim Jong-un's daughter, Kim Joo-ae. She's seen accompanying father at various occasions. North Korea is a patriarchal society, and the women's rights are heavily overlooked there. So there's analysis the regime is trying to stress the role of mothers as a way to solidify the status of Kim Joo-ae.
I see. More than a year has passed since Kim Joo-ae made her first public appearance. There have been speculations about whether or not she is Kim Jong-un's heir apparent. But one thing is clear, how she's building her political crest. She made her first public appearance with her father at the test launch of Hwasong-17 ICBM in November last year. Compared to last year, it seems there have been many changes to her appearance and images. Professor Kim, can you identify some important changes on her image and the other behavior?
Right, so Kim Joo-ae is very young. She's probably 10 or 11 years old. And when she first appeared, she seemed very childlike. But more recently, photos of her show that she looks much more mature and much more adult-like. She was recently seen wearing matching leather jackets with her father and wearing big sunglasses. And her titles have also changed. So they've evolved from titles such as a beloved child of the leader to ones that are more lofty and include words such as precious or respected. And the Unification Ministry has also assessed that a lot of this may be because the regime is establishing specific protocol standards for her.
Professor Lee, you have observed at least two succession processes in North Korea, from the first leader Kim Il-sung to the second leader Kim Jong-il, and the second leader Kim Jong-il to his third son, current leader Kim Jong-un. Do you see any changes or something particularly different from the previous successions and the rise of Kim Joo-ae?
The most significant difference is that Kim Jong-il and Kim Jong-un remained mysterious and hidden figures until they assumed official post. So Kim Jong-il was selected as a member of the Political Bureau of Workers' Party and designated as his father as an heir apparent in 1974 when he was 32 years old. And Kim Jong-il was publicly revealed in 1980. So Kim Jong-il designated his son Kim Jong-un as his successor only after his health condition was deteriorated. So Kim Jong-un made his first public appearance at a military parade remarking the 65th anniversary of the founding of the Workers' Party in 2010.
I see. Due to these unusual moves, international news outlets are paying keen attention to Kim Joo-ae. When she made her first public appearance in November last year, the most and second most searched keywords on the North Korean category of Google Trends were Kim Jong-un's daughter and daughter of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Professor Kim, so it is only natural of the outsiders, including South Korea, to pay keen attention to Kim Joo-e?
Right, right. I think the international community is very focused on this because it will greatly affect the stability of the future of the North Korean regime. The Kim family has succeeded the leadership position for 3 generations already.
Right.
And if Kim Joo-e becomes the next leader, that would mean that the Kim family has 4 generations of family members that are leaders. And she seems to be trained already at a young age to potentially take on this role. But not all generals and not all political officials are going to be willing to accept her because she may be the first female leader. And different government officials will align themselves with different siblings, which will lead to a reshuffling of power. And if there's a reshuffling of power, then that's going to lead to some instability and potentially also drain Kim Jong-un's power as well. So the international community is watching closely because the future of the North Korean regime really lies on who the next
And
successor
it's going to create the reverberations to the regional stability.
Right, and internationally too.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Quoting a source in Pyongyang, the US-based Radio Free Asia recently reported that North Korean authorities had called Kim Joo-e the Morning Star General of Korea. This kind of media report is spurring the speculations that Kim Joo-e is the potential successor of her father. So here's a $1 million question for our viewers. Professor Kim, Professor Lee, is she or is she not the next leader of North Korea?
I think it's still too early to tell. She's very young, and choosing a successor early on entails significant political risk. And if Kim Jong-un decided that she's going to be the next successor, but then later on, as she matures, she seems unfit for the position, it will be very difficult for Kim Jong-un to withdraw the decision later on. So in many ways, I think it's not going to be a rational choice for Kim Jong-un. And also, we actually don't even know if her name is actually Kim Joo-e. North Korean newspapers have not actually used her name, but they've only used titles. And the only reason why we assume her name is Kim Joo-e is because Dennis Rodman, the basketball player, said that it was. So we actually don't know a lot at this point.
I see. Professor Lee, same question. Is
Yeah.
she or is she not?
So since Kim Joo-e's first public appearance, it has been a really controversial whether she's a real successor of the Kim's family. But I'm thinking about the recent remarks from the high official at the current government open a window that the Kim Joo-e could be a successor. So for example, Kim Young-ho, the unification ministers, mentioned a couple of days ago that Kim Joo-e's appearance is actually indicators that Kim Jong is showing his will for his successions. And also the Cho Tae-yong, the national security advisors, publicly mentioned the same thinking that the current government it's under the verification stage to check whether Kim Joo is a real successor or not.
I see.
Dr. Bong, we're also curious about your opinion. Do you think she's going to be the next successor?
Well, I appreciate you asking me the question because that means that you regard me as an expert on this issue.
You are.
My answer is that we have to wait because, as you pointed out, that she's way too young to be nominated as successor. Because if she has been nominated as a successor, then at this early stage, it's going to risk her safety, right? And the second point is we have to see whether Kim Jong-un and his wife indeed has a son or not. Considering that, as Professor Lee mentioned, that North Korea is a highly patriarchal society, so existence of the son will be the critical point that we need to take into account. Whether she's the successor or not, a more important point is that the North Korean regime is using her for propaganda. So what are the utilities that the Kim Joo-e carry for North Korean regime?
I think the North Korean regime is utilizing her in many ways. For one, because she has been pictured in the media with Kim Jong-un so many times, it makes it seem as though Kim Jong-un is this great fatherly figure. So it really does enhance his image as a father and as a leader. And also, it also enhances the image of the Kim family in general because the pictures of them always show that they're happy and smiling. And in addition to that, Kim Jong-un takes Kim Joo-e to a lot of areas related to security, which would indicate that he's trying to show his domestic audience that there is a lot of development in terms of their nuclear developments that will secure the safety of the North Korean people in the future.
I see. and by carrying her along to the important test sites of the missiles and nuclear bombs. And I think the Kim family, wants to indicate to the public that we are in the same boat, right? Our lives depend upon nuclear weapon development.
Right.
On the other hand, there is a growing criticism that by revealing Kim Jue accompanying her father at military facilities, North Korea is concealing the reality, very harsh reality because of economic difficulties, that it is fanning tensions on the Korean peninsula with its nuclear and missile ambitions. There is an analysis that the North is using Kim Jue as an apparatus for psychological warfare. Professor Lee, what do you think of this speculation?
So I have the same perspective that Professor Kim mentioned. I think from the public manipulation perspective, like Kim Jue is really a strong instrument to invoke the loyalty in domestic people. Especially like going together with Kim Jong-un in the military sides, actually Kim Jong-un has a strategic room to describe himself as a parental figure. So this is really a good strategy to justify why North Korea needs to develop and advance the nuclear and missile capability. And this is a sign that, North Korea has this kind of military muscles to protect the second generation of Kim regime. So from the public manipulation perspective, Kim Jong-un has really strategically used Kim Jue for his domestic stability and domestic legitimacy.
Let's stay with this discussion. What kind of future do you foresee is going to happen to Kim Jue?
So I don't know exactly, but there's so many uncertain things in the future. But one thing is really true, that the strategic employment from Kim Jong-un is really successful so far. So Kim Jong-un, there's no need to change their strategy. So I think in the ongoing future, Kim Jong-un will more use Kim Jong-un as a really important figure and symbolic character for the Kim regime.
Professor Kim?
Yeah, I completely agree with Professor Lee. Kim Jong will continue to appear in the media because it will help Kim Jong-un further consolidate his power. And also, it provides some attraction towards North Korea when the international community is so focused on other issues such as the Israel-Hamas conflict and the Russia-Ukraine war. Bringing Kim Jong into the spotlight is an attention grabber. And so it makes the international community focus a little bit more on North Korea as well.
Isn't it amazing that she grabbed the world attention at the age of 11?
It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every time she made a public appearance, Kim Jue attracted global attention. And as she is always seen together with her father, we need to keep a close eye on when and why she is shown to the world next year. A host of stories and events grabbed the headlines last week, and we have selected some issues of special interest. Let's take a look at them. We had a quick summary of last week's key issues. Professor Kim, what photo was most impressive to you?
So I chose the picture of the celebration of Hanukkah, because Hanukkah means to dedicate, and it's celebrated for 8 nights and 8 days.
Is it true that the blue and white represent Hanukkah?
Not in the U.S., it's only
the
blue,
US.
but everywhere else I think it's blue and white.
What about you, Professor Lee?
I picked the Blackpink picture.
Of course.
So I'm a big fan of Blackpink, and so recently, there was a news that the Blackpink renewed the contract with the agency as a group, and I think this is such a relieving news for the international and domestic fans, because there was a growing fears among those audience that the group could be split up. So I think from the South Korean soft power diplomacies, like Blackpink has played a really crucial role. So being a group would be still expand the
Right.
South
You sound so
Korean.
relieved that the group stayed together.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. My favorite is the AI anchor Ari, introduced by Arirang TV. She's surprisingly natural and human-like, and she's bilingual too. The advancement of AI technology is really impressive. Professor Kim, I learned that you have watched the Ari actually on the Arirang TV news program.
I did, and Ari does look really realistic. I
Right.
thought she was human when I first saw her.
Right. Speaking of Ari, we are going to talk about something related in the second part. The AI chatbot ChatGPT celebrated its first birthday on November 30th. AI technology has already become a part of our everyday life. Professor Lee, but there's some controversies related to the AI, and you must have some of your own personal experience with the AI.
Yeah, I think we can easily come up with examples that how the AI technology is deeply embedded in our daily life. For example, when you use the social media platforms, they're using the AI technologies, and based on these technologies, the social media platform can easily collect information about the user's preference and time-consuming platform, and then they provide a customized information and service to their users. And also, I'm teaching at the university right now. The students are using AI technology in note-taking.
All right.
So when I was a student, we usually typed and wrote down the
Right.
information or high points from the lectures. But the students nowadays, they just using AI technologies for the note-taking aspects. So I think it's really widespread right now, the AI technology in our daily life, and the impact is gigantic.
Right. The impact is instilled in our daily life, and the South Korea, just like any other country, is making an adjustment. On December 5th, Korea's Special Parliamentary Committee on Political Reform made an eye-catching decision. It approved a revision to the Public Official Election Act, which bans the use of deepfake images in campaigning from 90 days before the election day. Professor Kim, could you explain to the viewers about this legal revision?
Yeah, so the revisions prohibit the production, distribution, screening, editing, and posting of deepfake videos, as you mentioned, starting from 90 days before the election. And it's deepfake videos related to the election campaigns. And this will go on until the date of the election campaign. And violation of this will include imprisonment or fines. And but the use of deepfake videos is actually allowed before the 90-day period, as long as it comes with a deepfake label. Now, the special committee approved of this because it's getting harder and harder to differentiate between real videos and deepfake videos. And as a result, it's getting harder to pinpoint what political leaders did or did not say. And so this is becoming a big problem because it's leading to more misinformation. But once it is officially approved, it will go into effect starting from the next general elections.
Dr. Lee, I always imagined that the deepfakes causing troubles in the advertisements or movies, but now politics is not immune to the problems. What's happening overseas in other countries?
So absolutely, there are growing cases that illustrate the negative impact of AI on political domain. You may have seen some pictures and video related to the fake explosion at the Pentagon, the Trump's arrest, and the fake video about Prime Minister Kishida. So it has been shown that the AI can pose serious ethical challenges, according to the AI Index Report 2023, released by Stanford University Institute for Human-Centered AI. The number of incidents regarding the ethical misuse of AI is rapidly rising. The institute said the number of AI incidents increased 26 times from 10 in 2012 to 260 in 2021.
So Kim, next year there will be about 65 elections, including South Korea's own parliamentary election in April, in over 50 countries. How would you assess the general impact of AI on elections, including South Korean case?
I think AI technology will definitely impact a lot of these elections worldwide. As I mentioned earlier, it can lead to misinformation, which can mislead and manipulate voters. It can also damage the reputation of different political figures worldwide, which could then also increase misinformation. But AI technology is like a double-edged sword, and it can also have positive impacts on the election as well. So it can enhance election security by detecting and preventing cyber threats and cyber attacks. And it can also help monitor and secure voting system databases and communication channels.
Dr. Lee?
Yes, absolutely. I agree with Professor Kim's point. So the negative impact, the most concerns come from AI. It's the public, the information manipulations, the misinformations. So usually political scientists describe the public as a cognitive misers, which means that the public wants to minimize the efforts to understand the political issues. So the AI negative impacts, it's distorting and manipulating the informations and provide the wrong information to the public. So the publics may digest these wrong information, and definitely it will affect their voting behaviors.
Okay. Recently, there was intriguing and somewhat shocking news about the use of artificial intelligence in elections. A Brazilian municipal council passed an ordinance, and it was later found that the ordinance had been written by ChatGPT. The councillor in question typed 49 words into the chatbot and retrieved a draft just in seconds. So, Professor Kim, there is an upside and positive effect of AI.
Right, so as you mentioned, ChatGPT can do many things, and it can review drafts, it can create drafts. Also, we can use our AI technology to observe the repercussions of certain bills before they're passed, and especially we can observe them in the context of different demographic groups. So that would allow us to also predict voter behavior and would allow political campaigns to target certain groups or demographics more effectively.
So, Professor Lee, I think there are a lot of upsides and positive contributions made by AI, not only in the political circles, but also in the field of diplomacy.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the military and security domains, I think AI is really helpful to in a lot of sense. For example, AI technology can provide safety to human beings. For example, the rescue robots or the combat robots, they can do military operation instead of human beings. So always the safety issue is so critical and sensitive to publics. And the AI-enabled robots or machines can easily do some risky task instead of human being.
See, Professor Kim, this must be the reason why so many countries are speeding up making new regulations on AI. Would you tell us about regulations on AI in general?
Yeah, so there are different regulations that are being made all over the world right now because of this, because of the issues that Professor Lee has also mentioned. For example, President Joe Biden recently issued an executive order that will require AI developers, well, it will require many things, but among them, AI developers will need to share their safety task results and other critical information with the US government. And also, the European Parliament passed the Artificial Intelligence Act, which will assess the level of risk that different AI technology has that is being used in different companies and provide regulations based on those risks. So these regulations are happening everywhere.
I see. The regulations are happening everywhere, but the regulations must be keeping pace with the development of AI. So, Professor Lee, what should we do more to make those regulations, not just making regulations, but making them really effective to AI?
So the critical point about the future regulation about AI is I think it's a really good regulation platform. So what do you mean a good regulation platform? So from my perspective, the public and private, a joint regulation platform is really important. So the private sector is usually the driving forces to propel the technological advancement and development. Right. But at the same time, they should be regulated under the public domain. But the tricky part is here. What is the middle ground ground that can both satisfy the public sectors and the private sectors. So from my perspective, so we need to actually incorporate the voices from the private sectors into the regulation platforms, because to some degree the pressure from the regulation can dampen the desire and wishes from the private sector's technological advancements. So I mean, in general, a holistic regulation platform that can both satisfy the public and private sectors is really important.
So holistic approach to target the middle ground between the private sector and the public sector.
Exactly.
I see. The artificial intelligence is a useful tool, surely, but it's such a new thing, and it can be a double-edged sword. Its misuse can pose serious threats to democracy and the election system. It is important to find wise ways to make better use of the technology. Professor Lee, Professor Kim, thank you so much for sharing your insights and analysis with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be back next week with the latest trending topics. Thanks for watching and goodbye.